me say that dragons are just doesn't do happily ever after, because that's the Disney and also Max and Chloe in my correct version of Life is Strange. Don't at me.
The 11th Hour is an excellent game for people who enjoy doing puzzles while a jerk is sarcastic to them.
It was a panda. Oh, it's like someone found it too much to bear.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. In the game, you play as Carl Denning, an investigative reporter whose girlfriend goes missing in a spooky old mansion. You set off to rescue her, a process which involves doing a ton of sliding block puzzles and solving weird riddles until you finally confront the owner of the house, Henry South, who is hosting a game show in the attic despite having been dead for over 50 years. That's when you're given the game's final choice. There are 3 women to choose from. Robin, the girlfriend you came to the mansion to rescue, Samantha, the mysterious woman who's been helping you out and feeding you clues along the way, or Marie, who is evil but only wearing a bra. See the dilemma here.
Let's see what's behind door number 1. Door number 1! Sweet Marie.
Obviously, choosing Marie gives you a bad ending, although I don't think anyone was prepared for her to turn into South mid-sex and then shout down on Carl Bridge, because what?
Stupid red flag.
Choosing Samantha, on the other hand, means that you escape the house, but it then burns down with Robin inside, and she dies. So, logically, Kate, that the best ending is going to be the one where we pick Robin, the whole reason we came here in the first place, right? Then again, in this ending, Carl was found dead in the river a few weeks later.
The body of TV reporter Carl Denning was found floating in the Hudson River today.
What's the message here, Ed? Because I'm having a real hard time puzzling it out.
Stuck, are we? If only you had the brains.
Yeah, all right, we're done here.
Wait. You're leaving? The flights are about to make. So where do we go? You will take it from here. Your family will be here now.
As far as parenting role models go, Kane from Kane Rich Dead Men is somewhere near the bottom, right next to the McAllisters from Home Alone and the McAllisters from Home Alone 2. 2 separate occasions, guys. Kane's involvement with the criminal underworld is the reason his dad gets executed by monsters right in front of their daughter, Jenny.
No, wait! Let me talk to him!
And then later in the game, again because of Kane's life of crime, Jenny gets kidnapped and taken to the Venezuelan jungle, which is just lousy with guerrilla warfare for the final year. In more proof of parental failure, when you finally catch up with her, it turns out that Jenny has quite the potty mouth.
Away from me, you murderer!
Yet another reason why you should probably handle your world's greatest dad mode. Rescue Jenny, and you're presented with 2 options for an ending, neither of which involves taking party buckles. One option is to head back into the fray with Jenny in an attempt to rescue your comrades, Shelley and Ripper, and escape by boat. The other is to dishonorably ditch your pals and steal a helicopter with Jenny.
Get her out now. I don't want no shit. They all move the risks. I have to let them burn. I'm afraid of her.
Attempt to rescue your men, and you'll sign up for yet more shooting as you advance towards the church where they're holed up. When you finally get there, though, Ripper is already dead.
Don't shoot. It's me. Aid? Well, if you did.
Huh. I guess it wasn't short for terrific after all. Ooh, unless it was terrifically full of bullets. Worse still, as you leave, Shelley appears to be exploded, Jenny will be shot, and Ken finishes the game cradling his dead or dying daughter in the boat, as Rich does his very best to offer words of sympathy.
It'll be okay, right?
The other ending, though, where Kane escaped in the helicopter and Jenny will definitely survive, but she'll be so disgusted by her dad's cowardice and betrayal of his comrades that she'll probably never speak to him again. Teenagers, hey Kane, I'm just kidding.
There you go, those were the games that had multiple endings, sure, but all of those endings were bad, sad, and sad, miserable. Why did you even bother? This was a real downer. And I'm depressed. So I think the only thing to do is go and cheer myself yourself up with this video from outside Xbox, which is about the weird ass Sheffield ending that made us go, wait, what? At the end of the game, which is better than miserable, right? And then this one from outside Extra, which is about the heartbreak in video games that we still haven't gotten over. Somehow, like heroes, we will talk to you about them because it's worth it.
Villains come in all shapes and sizes, usually quite large, yet they have one thing in common: it's a shared ambition not to accidentally help the good guys save the world. And yet it happens more often than these so-called bad guys would care to admit. Just think of the occasions on which these antagonists save the day with embarrassing self-sabotage. Beware spoilers for these games, which you may or may not know the ending of already. And if you don't know the ending of Lord of the Rings, go watch the movies, and we'll see you back here in 9.5 hours.
Batman's selection of villains is a real mixed bag. For every Joker, there's an Iron Hat Ferris. For every Penguin, a Crazy Quilt. For every Catwoman, a Riddler. Oh, come at me, Riddler fans. Yeah, I've got a riddle for you. What's green? Covered in question marks and stars. Answer in the comments below. That was the Riddler. The Rogues Gallery is especially hit and miss in Batman Arkham Origins, a game in which Gotham's most triumphant billionaire is being hunted by 8 assassins, all out to win a $50 million bounty placed on his head by unhinged baddie Black Hearts. I mean, there are 8 of them, not all of them. That's how we end up with Lester Wachowski, aka the Electrocutioner, a super villain whose chief power appears to be that he owns a car battery and some jumper cables.
Street time named Lester Wachowski calls himself Electrocutioner.
Sure, he's sewn those cables into gloves, meaning he can do electric punches, but come on, guys, that's not going to do you much good in a fight against Batman. I guess we'll just have to let him find out for himself. Told you. Also, the electromagnetic signal in his gloves is what allows Batman to track the villains to their hideouts.
There. I just need to track the signal to his location.
Nice one, Lester. Oh, well, at least I guess we'll know better in future. And okay, forget identity. Still, Electrocutioner's loss is Batman's game because the mysterious vigilante, with Bruce Wayne's exact chin, is able to take these shot gloves from Lester's corpse and repurpose them for his own use, giving him much more powerful attacks. And, crucially, allowing him to thwart his arch nemesis, the Joker, in the finale of the game. In the climax of Arkham Origins, the Joker seeks to break Batman's cardinal no-killing rule by offering him a choice: kill Bane or allow Bane's heartbeat to charge an electric chair, which will kill the Joker.
Kill Bane! No, you won't kill him, but you will. You will fight me with all your resolve, or you will die. Someone is going to die.
Thanks to the Electrocutioner, there is instead a peaceful third way, where Batman wants to beat Bane until his heart stops, waits for the Joker to leave, and then uses the shock gloves as a makeshift defibrillator to restart Bane's heart.
Come on.
And then beats him some more. Hey, that is peaceful for Batman. He also pulls the same trick on Alfred at another point in the game. Basically, if it wasn't for old Lester, things would be a lot worse for Gotham's countryest goth. So, thanks, Lester. Lester? And you're not helping yourself here, Lester.
Shepard did everything right, more than we could have hoped for. Saving the Citadel, but leaving the Council to die. Humanity's place in the galaxy is stronger than ever, and still it's not enough.
In Mass Effect, the greatest threat to life, the galaxy, and everything is an ancient race of synthetic organic spaceships called the Reapers. These squid-looking space monsters rock up every 50,000 years and harvest all the intelligent life in the Milky Way, leaving nothing but rocks and kids eating tide pods. The bad news for the Reapers is that despite being incredibly advanced, they utterly fail at the end of Mass Effect 1 to kill the single human being who stands a chance at ending their reign of cyclical terror.
It's yours again. Now's our chance. Get on everything we
Human is shepherds. The good news for the Reapers is that no one really believes Shepherd when she bangs on about some advanced ancient race coming to end all life as we know it.
But they're sending her to fight Geth. Geth? We both know they're not the real threat. The Reapers are still out there.
They're all like, Shepherd, that sounds way too scary and expensive to be a serious problem, so no, you can't have the resources and multilateral commitment required to fight the Reapers. Instead, how about now you, I don't know, go on patrol for Geth? Those things are so annoying. Seems like a worthwhile use of your time.
We're wasting our time. 4 days searching up and down this sector, and we haven't found any sign of Geth activity.
In yet more good news for the Reapers, while Shepherd is on one of these BS patrols, she encounters yet another ominously named race of cybernetic baddies known as the Collectors. These guys have a lot more luck at blowing up Shepherd's ship and killing her in that they do both of those things. Sounds like a slam dunk for the Collectors, except by striking her down, they make her more powerful than they can possibly imagine. And not because she comes back as a lame Force ghost, but because she's resurrected by the ludicrously well-funded paramilitary group Cerberus, which is kind of what we were hoping you meant when you used that phrase, everyone emphasize. It's only with the patronage of Cerberus that Shepherd receives the new ship, new crew, and new firepower, and basically all the investment she needs to properly go deal with this galactic menace.
Wow, just saying it makes more money. They aren't all there. Saved your life. Let me fly. Useless.
Which means it's all thanks to the accidental intervention of the Collectors that the Reapers are eventually foiled and the galaxy eventually saved with Mass Effect 3. The irony is sweetened by the fact that it turns out the Collectors are a race of subservient cybernetic jerks created by the Reapers to do their dirty work. It's like inventing a Roomba that hoovers up all your heart medicine. That's a Roomba. Oh, hey, come on.
Nice place you got here.
Given that pharmaceutical chief exec Zhao Yongwu is a key member of the Illuminati, we thought she'd have all this figured out way ahead of time. The whole point of the Illuminati is that they quietly manipulate the world from the shadows with a clandestine plan that is as inscrutable as it is devious.
Surely you could have protected. Surely. Surely you can protect. Men never fail.
But there's one crucial variable that Zhao failed to account for when trying to execute the Illuminati's mysterious bidding. And no, this time it wasn't internet conspiracy theory. The variable Zhao didn't consider was that when she ordered Bell Tower, her private army, to attack Sarah Industries at the beginning of the game, she only near fatally injured Sarah's grumpy, head of security, Adam Jensen. I'd say they don't pay him enough, but that potentially actually looks pretty good. Crucially, if Zhao had never ordered the hit on Sarah Industries in an attempt to sabotage technology that removes the need for augmented humans to take an anti-rejection drug, Adam would have remained a boring old unaugmented human, having famously never asked for this.
Never asked for this.
Instead, he became a sort of bionic Superman with a massive chip on his shoulder and nano-ceramic blades in his forearm, who would systematically take down the Illuminati's agents, culminating in a final boss battle that ends with Zhao overloading herself and turning into a tiny mound of smoking ash. I'm going to go ahead and assume that's not how she saw things panning out. So by the end, Adam has revealed the truth about the Illuminati to the world, saving the global population from being manipulated by shadowy elites, completely foiling Zhao's plan and being a fatal blow to this secret society.
Technology offers a strength. Strength means dominance. Dominance paves the way from use.
I mean, unless you chose the ending that left the Illuminati intact and preserved their secret control of the world.
Absolute freedom is no better than chaos. Society needs laws and regulations to protect them.
In which case, you're now watching the 5 Villains who saved the world by accident?
You cannot rebel against me. I will outlast you, mortal.
Being a dragon is a really sweet gig. You can fly, breathe fire, and when you speak, you sound like Morgan Freeman and 100 Gandalfs had a baby, with amazing gravitas.
I knew where he would emerge, but not when.
You make a fortune doing movie trailers. Now, if I were a dragon, I'd probably not want to rock the boat and just spend my time doing cool dragon stuff, like swooping majestically through the sky, flame-broiling cattle, and chilling on mountaintops. Not Skyrim baddie Alduin, though. This ancient dragon is hell-bent on dominating the world and enslaving everyone, even after having been chucked around magically through time with an Elder Scroll, which, let me tell you, was no picnic. What's that? Mike, what did I tell you about messing with that Elder Scroll? Put it back! Anyway, I can totally see why Alduin wants to dominate the planet. I mean, he's a dragon. And not just any dragon, he's the strongest, most powerful dragon who has ever lived. Who's going to stop him? Why, you have to be some kind of dragonborn, a warrior with the body of a mortal and the soul of a dragon. I mean, you're not just going to stumble across one of those, are you?
You have become strong.
Unless you're Alduin. There must be a dragon shout appropriate for this moment. Yes, turns out there is a dragonborn in the land of Skyrim, and that dragonborn is a level 1 scrub who doesn't even know they're a dragonborn, and, better yet, is on their way to be executed for, I don't know, attacking chickens. If Alduin had any chill whatsoever, the only person capable of killing him would have had their melon locked off, and he'd be free to go around deliciously flame-grilling whatever he fancied. Instead, Alduin wrecks up the execution, freeing the Dragonborn, and setting himself up for a shouty smackdown at the end of the game. So thanks, Alduin. If it wasn't for you, we'd really be in a lot of danger from you. Mike, is that the French Revolution?
No?
Told you, stop looking at that Elder Scroll. You'll go blind.
That's what you said about looking at the eclipse.
You were blind for 4 months.
My name is Solus, if there are to be introductions. I'm pleased to see you still live.
Who could have foreseen that the real villain of Dragon Age Inquisition was not the deformed, ancient, power-mad darkspawn Corypheus?
I am Corypheus. I shall deliver you from this lie in which you live.
I know, right? And actually, it was the softly spoken mage Solus who hangs out in your library. But yeah, in a plot twist more shocking than the tangled mass of exposed wiring in our poorly maintained fuse box, you discover this soulful mage was the cover story for Ben Harel, the elvish god of betrayal. So, guess what he's into?
You also know the burden of the title role that replaces your name.
The whole game used Solus as your party member with the greatest affinity for spirits and the smoothest scalp. That's right up until a jaw-dropping epilogue reveals that it was Solus who wants to bring about the interdimensional apocalypse you've been fighting to prevent.
Because I am not a monster. If they must die, I would rather they die in comfort.
It turns out this god aims to restore the ancient world of the elves by tearing down the mystical veil between the world of the spirits and the regular world.
The veil took everything from the elves, even themselves.
But when Solus woke from a long mystical nap and found his powers depleted, he couldn't unlock his magical orb of destruction for magically destroying the veil. So then he gave the orb to a more obvious bad guy Corypheus, hoping that Corypheus would unlock it for him.
You should not have given your orb to Corypheus.
I was too weak to unlock it after my slumber.
So you can't get a jar open, you need someone to get it started for you.
The plan was for Corypheus to unlock it, and for the resulting explosion to kill him. Then I would claim the orb.
Where the plan went wrong was when Corypheus didn't get exploded, but instead hung on to the powerful orb, then got locked in an epic battle with the Inquisitor, who eventually smashed the orb, rendering it permanently useless and saving the world. It's like when you get someone to open a jar for you, but then they don't give the jar back, and then they smash the jar. I copy!
The ring came to the creature Gollum, who took it deep into the tunnels of the Misty Mountains.
For 500 years it poisoned his mind.
Much like my Christmas, The Lord of the Rings is a tale of someone trying to return an unwanted bit of jewellery. No, I don't have a receipt. Yes, I'll hold. Anyways, Gollum is a violent gremlin obsessed with Frodo, who is good, and the One Ring, which is evil. three-part saga, Ring-bearer Frodo learns that Ring-stalker Gollum is following them. At which point Frodo is like, Gandalf, why don't we bash his brains out with a rock? And Gandalf is like, no, because even the wisest cannot see all ends of not bashing Gollum's brains out with a rock. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I think that's it. And credit to Gandalf, because his wisdom about not bashing Gollum with a rock totally pays off in the end. Here at Mount Doom, from whence the One Ring came and into whence it must be chucked, Frodo succumbs to the ring's seductive power and decides, actually, Sam, now that I think about it, the ring is mine and I'm going to keep it.
The ring is mine.
It's at this point the villainous Gollum shows his treacherous true colours for like the 1000th time since not being killed with a rock, when he steals the ring by biting off Frodo's finger, or, here in the less bitey Lego version, popping off Frodo's entire Lego hand. However, it transpires that this is a good thing because Gollum is even less adept at not falling into volcanoes than he is at dressing himself. So it is he and the One Ring end up falling in the lava and melting like a T-1000 in a loincloth. And that's how Gollum ended up saving the world. Unless you're playing the non-Lego game of Return of the King, in which Frodo and Sam wave on Gollum with swords until he lets go and dies. Nice one, Sam. Just saying that.
Alright, so those were the villains that saved the day by accident. But if you don't want to be a villain, why don't you click on some of our other videos? We've got stuff from us up here and stuff from our sister channel, Outside Extra, down here. And if you'd like to see more of this sort of thing, you've got a subscribe all here, which will deliver videos straight to your subscriber payment thing. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
In a video game, it's easy to tell who the villain is. They're the evil one with all the evil plans who's always being all evil.
Do whatever you please. Die, you worm!
Right, like that. But sometimes when you really think about it, someone presented as a bad guy turns out to have a pretty good point after all, actually. Here are 7 video game villains who had a good point now that we think about it. Oh, and beware spoilers for the following games.
I've been trying to run a small business in the city where Streets of Rage takes place. The city is ruled with an iron fist by an evil crime syndicate, the streets are overrun by punks, and there's a terrible t-shirt shortage that means everyone is going around topless. That's the situation Barbon, the first boss of Streets of Rage 2, finds himself in. Barbon owns a bar, see? Nice place with exposed brickwork, hardwood floors, a couple of classy pool tables. It's not much, but it's all he has. So when a giant pro wrestler, or a woman in a pleather miniskirt, or a rollerblading child, or Cody from Final Fight walk in the front door and start smashing up all his furniture, beating up his clientele and stealing his takings, I think he's entitled to be pissed. The thing is, Barbon does exactly the right thing. He leaves the bar at the back entrance, trying to avoid confrontation, hoping that the lawless vigilantes trashing his bar will just take his apples and sacks of money with dollar signs on the side and just leave. It's only once they follow him and corner him in an alley that he fights back. What else was he going to do? Call the police? I think it's pretty obvious that in the world of Streets of Rage, the way the police deal with the problem is firing a bazooka at it from 3 blocks away. And we did Terran's best waistcoat. Not cool, guys.
What are you doing here? The war room is no place for a child.